Good evening and welcome to our discussion with the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth. And I'm Pete Castillo, your host for tonight. And I'm proud and honored to welcome Sister Carlette Gentle, Sister Maggie Cooper, and Sister Barbara. Thank you for accepting our invitation to be here.
Thanks for having us.
And before we even get any further, we want to start with a prayer. We do everything, whenever we have a show, we'd like to ask our God to intercede for us, to make sure everything goes well. Sister, can you lead us in prayer?
Sure, let's do it. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Loving and gracious God, we want to first of all thank you for this beautiful day that you have gifted us with. We want to thank you for our health and our strength that you give us so that we could go around and do your work, your service. And we pray for this time that we have here. We pray for all those who are behind the cameras and for us as Sisters of Charity celebrating 50 years. We ask that you be with us during this time, and for those who are watching, be with them and their families. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Thank you very much for that prayer. And please share with our listeners and viewers a little bit about yourselves as an introduction. You can start. Sister, you want to start?
Okay. So I'm Sister Barbara Flores. Obviously, I think I would be known in the diocese. I've worked in the diocese as director of religious education and also as general manager of schools. I am currently in the United States and in leadership as provincial of the Western Province of the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth. And the Western Province is all the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth within the United States and Belize.
Okay.
So it is wonderful to be here, and we are here to celebrate our 50th anniversary of ministry and presence in the Diocese of Belize.
Thank you, Sister.
And I'm Sister Maggie Cooper, and I'm really honored to be here. I served here in the diocese for 18 years in the Pastoral Life Center, and I worked with so many people out there, and so I'm really happy. It's like a homecoming for me. So it's a big joy to be here.
And I'm Sister Carlette Gentle. I'm here on the ground in Belize, Belize City, and I work with the elderly population in Southside Belize.
Thank you again, all three of you, for being here with us.
Thank you.
And like I said earlier, I'm so honored that we can be here together to share this information on your 50th anniversary. And I want to start by saying congratulations, Sister Barbara. We've heard about that appointment that as the provincial of the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth. And we're so pleased because you're a daughter of the soil.
Yes, she is.
You know, so it's a great honor. And of course, Sister Maggie, it has to be a great welcome back.
Thank you very
Welcome
much.
back.
It's a joy to be here.
I'm sure. Well, you're all here because you are celebrating your 50th anniversary of being in Belize, Sisters of Charity of Nazareth being in Belize and working and serving the people of Belize. So you're having a mass in the Angria, you're having other activities, and this show is to tell the Belizean people, tell your friends here and abroad, what the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth are about, especially in Belize. So we want to start off and we want to share a little bit of an overview of who or what SCN is, and I'll use the term a lot because the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth is a bit long.
Yeah.
So we wanted to share with people who the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth are and what made them come to Belize in the first place, what their mission is about. So in general, an overview of what SCN is about. So you can start, Sister, and you can jump in at various times whenever you feel like.
Okay. Well, thanks, Pete. And yes, we are thrilled to be able to share our story because that's what it's about. It's the story of the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth who came to Belize for long-term ministry September 1st, 1975. But just to put it in context, we were founded in 1812. The Sisters of Charity of Nazareth, founded in 1812 by Catherine Spaulding, Mother Catherine Spaulding, in Bardstown, Kentucky. And our mother house is located at Nazareth, Nazareth, Kentucky. That's our present location. However, it is important to say that we are in 6 countries globally.
Okay.
Yes, so we are founded in the United States, and then India, Belize, Nepal, Botswana, and Kenya. Did I say all of them? Yes. So, and we have 121 ministries across the congregation. And we are in those countries, but also we have, we have two provinces, I should say. There are 3 provinces across the globe. One in the United States that Belize is a part of that province, and then 2 in India, and then the missions, Botswana and Kenya. And our motto, just to say, is the love of Christ impels us. We do what we do because of that. And, as far as coming to Belize, when we first came, I'm saying we, I was a young lay woman, and as they say, minding her business. The Jesuits were the ones who invited us to come to the country. Actually, Sister Mary Lynn Fields, Sister of Charity of Nazareth, was interested in going to India, but could not get into the country because of visa issues for ministry. And therefore, the Superior General at the time, Sister Barbara Thomas, was very aware of this. Then Father Jim Short, who was the Jesuit superior, made a request to Sister Barbara Thomas because Father Mike Oliver, who was the pastor in Dangriga, felt that he needed more help. And I was already working as a young lay woman in the parish, and there were a couple of other lay people. There were 2 Holy Family sisters, and so he said, we want to form a pastoral team, but we need more help in terms of being able to respond to the needs of the entire district. It was the parish and in town and the entire district, all of the villages. And so Father Mike Oliver, Jesuit, approached Father Jim Short, who approached Sister Barbara Thomas. So she said, we actually have a sister who is been wanting to go to India. However, she would be willing to at least explore the possibility of going to Belize. And so she came in 1974, along with another SCN, and they both loved it. And they were in Belize City for a bit, but their time was in Dangriga.
Sister, sometimes I have a difficulty trying to hide my age. But you mentioned some names there, like Sister Lynn, Father Oliver.
Yes.
And I know these names sound familiar, so it will tell a lot about how old I am. I don't care. I love those names. When I hear them, I think about them, and I have good memories of them.
Yes.
But why Dangriga, Sister?
Actually, Father Oliver was the pastor.
Okay.
And so if he was requesting assistance, it was for
His
Sacred Heart Parish,
parish.
and
Okay.
that includes all of the villages. So the Sacred Heart Parish is in Dangriga, so that was why. We were very fortunate to have had Father Oliver at the time, really, and he really wanted to do more with pastoral ministry. He felt that it was Father Charleville was with him. These two Jesuits just were not able to cover all of the villages and the needs of the villages, and so that's why Dangriga. Yeah. Yes.
So the mission at that time, is it still from when the sisters came at that time? The mission at that time, would you consider today that mission is still pertinent?
Well, we're not physically present there anymore. But what was very important to us, to the sisters at the time, and I would say to all of those who followed, because Sister Lynn was the first SCN who came, and all of those who followed, it was important for them to begin to develop lay leadership. We actually wrote what we call the theology of mission. How are we going to do this mission? We are not just going to come in and impose on the people. We want to collaborate with the people. We want this journey to be mutual. And so they did create a curriculum for adult formation, for lay leadership. They created, but it was always with, let us first get to know the people. Let us listen to what they say the needs are. Let us dialogue with them. Obviously, we are not the first ones for them that they would be hearing about God and spirituality. These are faith-filled people that we have encountered here. And so how do we journey with them to create then what would be helpful for them as they help us to lead in the diocese. And so that was the journey.
You need to mention, though, that they, at least what a couple of them have told me, is that the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth taught them how to pray in their language. It didn't have to be English. It was celebrating God through their own language, their culture. So I think
I think that's, thanks for raising that, because that's a very crucial piece. I remember when one of the person was in training for lay ministry, and Sister Lynn said, we will look at how we can translate the communion services, the prayer services that you all will be leading in Garifuna and also in Maya at the time, because of the villages that are in the district. And we will also introduce the drums into the church. And people were, can we do that? Are we able to do that? They had not been invited in that way. Very used to, yes, father comes, sister comes, and we are taught, and that's it. But part of talking about how we will do our mission was that we wanted to reverence the best of people's cultures, and we wanted that to come from them in terms of their own spirituality, who God is for them, to pray it out of their own language. And I think very much in keeping with the Second Vatican II Council, very much in keeping with that. So there was a sense of, wow, as I pray in my language and I deepen in my spirituality, somehow I'm able to understand and tap into how I see God and who God is for me from that perspective.
That has to be very important because I'm thinking about it as you're saying, and I'm trying to imagine myself praying to God in a language that I don't know or I'm not familiar with, compared to praying to Him, speaking to Him, me to you, God, in a language that I can express myself in.
Yes.
So it has to be something very significant that you can touch the people in such a way. Oh, these people are telling me it's okay to pray in my language. It's okay for me to express myself to God in the way I understand, in the way I can speak. So what would you say were some of your earliest challenges during those days at the start?
Well, we traveled throughout the district, and we went from village to village. And Sister Lynn Fields and myself, we would stay in a village for about a week, and it was very basic, simple living. We pretty much stayed in the school, which was also the church, the one room school building, and we visited the people, and of course there was a little bit of language barrier, but somehow the language of love and faith, that's universal. Yeah. And so people caught on. Somehow they sense for them that this was a different way of experiencing church, and responded beautifully. And so we spent a considerable amount of time identifying leaders in those villages, and those were the ones who became the candidates, so to speak, to be in the lay ministry program.
When I was thinking about challenges, I was also thinking that so much time has passed. 50 years, a long time, and so many changes have occurred, not only throughout the church, in the life of the community, in Belize itself, for you personally, for each of you personally, and I'm thinking now, what would make us as a community still want to continue today through all the changes that have happened over the years? Have any of these changes influenced the community in such a way that today we want to move away from Belize if we were asked to move away from Belize? 50 years ago, you were invited to Belize, but because so much has happened, would all these changes now influence that decision if you were asked again to come today? Long question, I'm sure.
I will have one of my other sisters respond to that, but just to say all the more, if we had the personnel, the sister personnel to be able to be present in the country, we would be here, because we see the needs, and it's fertile soil when you stop to think of it, in terms of working the faith of our people throughout this diocese, certainly the Stann Creek district. The response of the people, it was just really awesome to see how people were responding. And the curriculum, I remember one time Father Hunter, people like Sister Caritas Lawrence, they were the resource people, and they talked about the Belizeanization of the church. That was powerful at a time when the country itself was looking at independence. So how can the leadership come from the people? How could we be freed from the vestiges of what we were used to came from a more Eurocentric, patriarchal way of seeing church and understanding, who God is. So we grew up as, in our formation, as SCNs, as Sisters of Charity of Nazareth, at the same time that the country was looking at how it could free itself from the shackles of being colonized and becoming independent. Those things are interconnected, and so it was a really powerful time. I don't know what you, in response to Pete's question, what you all would say, but
yeah, when
I
you
give
talk
you a
about
chance.
challenges, my gosh, I think right now there are so many, and myself being one of the younger members in the community, you talk about having, well, it's not even the resource, it's the personnel. And because young women are not joining religious communities, actually priesthood is the same thing, they're not joining as much. It is difficult to get young people. So when schools, high schools ask me to come in and talk to students, and I'm a Belize and I'm a Southside. So I go into Creole often. This sister Barbara always laughs because I'm talking English and I just broke in a Creole, just like that, But I am Belizean. So when I go talk to students, I usually ask them what they think a sister looks like. What do you think they say? They're white, they're old, they dress old, and they're dressing at a thing, and you start thinking, that is the image of what sisters look like. So I said, do I fit any of those categories? No, they shout, And I tell them, when you see me go to the market on Saturday, I'm in my shorts and t-shirt, and I will holler for you too if I know you. Basically, but that's me. I am a Sister of Charity of Nazareth, and I joined when one of the sisters had a t-shirt that said, you can be yourself and be one of us. And I will never forget that saying, you can be yourself and be one of us. And I am who I am within the Sisters of Charity. I'm the I, but we are the we. And I make up a part of that we. And I'm so thankful. So when I go talk to young women about this, it's really, I just give them the download of what the basicness of religious life is. Yes, you have to study, you have to work at it, whatever. But we can work on ourselves, to become a part of the whole. And it's a challenge because they don't really see religious life as an option. But seeing a Black woman from Southside who talk their basic Creole, in a community like this, it really gives an eye-opener. One young woman came up to me and said, sis, I would have never think that I could have become a sister because I'm from Southside. And it's like, well, you're meeting another one from Southside. So if you're thinking about it, think deeply. And so the challenges continuously are there. We're not as vivid as we want to be because there are fewer of us. And indeed, we don't wear a habit. So nobody will know I'm a sister when I walk past the street or something. When you look at the whole reality of that makes it challenging as well. But personnel is one of the big things.
And today, vocation is a problem, I believe. I'm sure everyone has been looking at the picture and can see how over the years there's been a decline in the interests of young women, young men joining the religious life. One of this problem, I would dare say, would be even our parents. Our parents are still trying to think that I want a grandchild. I want a grandson, granddaughter. What would you say to parents who still have that kind of fear of letting their sons, their daughters join the religious life?
Tell them they gain 1 million more. Because when you think about kids, I always say, I had a dream I'm going to have twins. And it's going to be little girls, and I'm going to dress them up and all of that. But when I decided that I was going to be a sister, God called me to this. I gained so many kids that I would not even think about. You know, when I was in Las Flores, like I used to have a Christmas party for like 400 kids, and my family would come to help me. And so my mom was like, well, I guess you have kids, you know, but the service or the mission you go out to do, you gain so many more relationships from that. So compared to one child, you know, my family has grown tremendously. Yeah.
I'm sure other young women are listening to this show tonight, and it's very important that they get a clear understanding of what this vocation is all about. And so I'd like to ask you, when you received this calling to join a religious order or to follow God's calling, what was it like? Was it something like a quiet voice in the night, or someone coming to you and telling you, I want you to be a sister because you look like a sister, you behave like one, or was it that dramatic thunder and lightning, God's voice saying, come sister, come daughter? How was it like?
I know, right? You wish it was that clear, or at least I wish it was that clear. But I guess that's why discernment happens. There is a little thing in there, your heart that stirs, that does not want to go away. I had a boyfriend, I was dating, and I said I had a dream of getting married, having twins. Don't ask me why twins, but yeah, I had that in my head. But then when I met the sisters, I was in high school. I love cooking. So my godmother is an associate to the community, and she invited me over to the sisters to help them cook one summer. And I went over and I saw these sisters, and they were laughing and they were dancing because the garifuna drums came over, you know, check in the punta. But anyway, so those things, it's like, they're like regular human beings, you know, when you see that. So when I left from there, something continuously stirred within me saying, I want to be a part of that. No matter I was pushing it away, you know, because I had a boyfriend. I was like, okay, I have this boyfriend. Yes, but nope, it continuously stirred. And it came to the point where I finally went to the sisters, and I didn't want to say it right away because, you know, I thought they were going to hang me. You know, there's a person coming, yeah, let's take her. But it wasn't like that. They journeyed with me. And actually, they said because I ended up telling them I do have a boyfriend. And I was shocked at the response. It was like, you know, that's good because you need to experience that side. It's not like I'm coming in blindly. So the sister that I was working with, she spoke to me about that. And I shared openly with her about my boyfriend. And then at one point when my boyfriend was saying, you know, hey, I'll move to the next step, whatever. I said, no, boy, I want to be a sister. So that shocked me totally, you know. And at that point, I figured, you know what? God is continuously calling me to this. Let's give it a try. And I started to speak to the sisters. And from there, they couldn't get rid of me. So I'm still here.
You had something.
Yep,
Maggie,
you
what
share
was
your
your
stories.
experience like?
Well, if you're talking about when I was beginning, I was in a good Catholic family, and we prayed every night and everything, and I had really wonderful teachers, and they were almost all Sisters of Charity. I liked them, and I felt in harmony with them, and I had joy around them, and it just became part of me. It just happened simply in a way, because it was just like it was an attraction, you know. And there were other attractions around, but nothing that good. And so anyway, so I said I got to get here, you know. And I had wonderful sisters that really coached me, you know, when they have found out that I was, you know, interested, you know. And then you just take the risk, and and your parents go with you, and they were supporting me. You know, I mean, they asked me questions like, is this real for you? And things like that, but they were there for me. So.
For me, it's the same thing. But it was the witness that I saw in the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth. And really, my role model was Sister Marilyn Fields. I was this young lay woman visiting these villages with her, and she was so joyful and accepting of the people and so open. And it took a while before I even said something, but there was a spirit amongst them that was real. It was open. They related to you in a very accepting kind of way. I saw that there, obviously, the service that they rendered, the way they did ministry with the people. And this thing about I never saw a quote like that when I entered, but it was very clear that there was a connection with the people that was somewhat different from what my experience had been. And I said, I want to be one of this group. And so that's how, and as Sister Carlette said, there is a long discernment process that you go through, and you are accompanied by a sister through prayer and reflection, and to see if this is a fit, and so there was never any pressure, but yes, grew up in a strong Catholic family, and therefore there was something there that connected with who these women were and what they were about, and I've never looked back since.
Interesting stories. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll hear a lot more of the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth on their life and their story in Belize.
Thank you.
Thanks.
we're back. We've been speaking with Sister Carlette, Sister Maggie, and Sister Barbara, Sisters of Charity of Nazareth, and we've been speaking about the SCN's life in Belize. This month, 31st of August, we're having a Mass in Danriga in celebration of your 50th anniversary. Tell us a little bit more about this upcoming Mass and the activities you have planned.
Well, I will start, and then you all can pick up on sharing also. We're very excited about this. Last September 1st, 2024, we launched this year of because it's a celebration, but this is a culmination of different activities that we've had, and so as far as August 31st, we're bringing it to this point of celebration with this Eucharistic liturgy. And what's wonderful is the context, the larger context is the Jubilee year, pilgrimage of hope. And we're truly honored that our Jubilee, our 50 years, it coincides with the Jubilee year, and when you think of Jubilee, it's a time of renewal, renewal within the church, renewal of faith. It's a call for reconciliation. It's a call for mercy. And so this Jubilee year, for it to, our 50th Jubilee, for it to come at this time, I think is just a beautiful way of, for integrating certainly our hope and our vision as we move forward. So it's like you come to a threshold, 50 years of life in the church with the people of Belize. And so you've come to this point, this moment of celebration of this milestone. It is that, but it's also to step back as we share the story. What is the call now, and how do we go forward? You were talking about challenges. There are so many of them, but we want to go forward in celebration and with hope. And if there's any time in, whether it's our country or the world, hope is so needed, very, very fractured world. So it's celebration, it's looking at ministry and looking at what the call is now for us as Sisters of Charity of Nazareth in this country, in the world, and then how do we go forward as we step over to the next 50 years.
So we've been talking about our call to religious life, but our call to Belize was just as holy, and we wanted to really celebrate our time together and what we had done, and let the people celebrate with us, that we are really a joy for us to be here, and not a labor, but a joy. And we learn how to be good ministers by them, because we together, tried to figure out what is God doing in Belize, And so I feel like my vocation here was to help the people to discern what is their call, because as a Christian we have a call, and that's even our foundational call as sisters, is our baptismal call, that got us into the community of God, And so, and it's so easy for Belizeans to catch that, because it's so precious to them, when you really do be a cheerleader for their call.
Of course.
You know, they don't have to be Sisters of Charity or anything in the, you know, in this kind of line, but they have to be it in their communities, in their families, you know, and when you show them like little ways to do that, or, you know, or cheer them on to what they already are doing, that's a real call, you know. So we're celebrating call a lot bigger than ours, you know, but it's a beautiful call. And so we're celebrating God called us to Belize, and we're proud of it, you know, and so we want to dance with the people, you know.
I'm looking forward to see you dance.
Yeah, so anyway,
Yeah.
that's our call.
So this Sunday, August 31st, we are calling on those who have worked along with us and who have, you know, danced along with us to a mass at Sacred Heart, and it's 11 o'clock, and we're hoping that it will be an intercultural mass. The Garifuna, Mayans, Creole, Spanish, together to celebrate with us and the mission, the service that we've done throughout these 50 years. We're calling on our community to join us in that celebration, because without them, we wouldn't be where we are today.
What are some of the programs that the SCNs have carried out in Belize?
Sir Maggie, I will let you do that. I want to talk about search and the youth, because we haven't touched upon that, but I will let you.
That was my job description quote, was to really help the people, or to support the people in their own growth about their ministry, you know, to help them feel a call to ministry, you know, because every Christian has that call. And so it was my joy to really help them to see that, and then help them with the how-to, you know. So we had different kinds of groups that we had to empower the people to say, hey, what do you feel, you know, you're called to? And if they felt called to catechetical ministry, because they'd already been in it for a while, then we showed them a little ways and helped them to strengthen their catechetical ministry, and to help them to really help the kids, the children, see their call early, because, you know, they're children and they got to grow up through that to see, you know. So those little talents or those little skills, we work seriously on the skills. And then the liturgical ministry, you know, was a real ministry in the church, you know, and you have to say Belize was ahead of a lot of the church on the priest including the people in the liturgies. But that's a beautiful call of how that to pray and to praise God together, and to be a leader in that, and to sing and lecture and, you know, all that. So we had little learning groups for different kinds of ministry that helped them to, you know, see the different things. Even we had one for marriage in the family, because a lot of marriages were kind of stumbling along. And so we had a really good marriage couple, and they got trained, and they started training other couples. You know, and pretty soon that was really a gift that they gave to the church. You know, and so.
What about your Lemix too?
Yeah,
You did that.
And then when they, at one point when I was doing all these different kinds of things, a friend of mine said, there's a program that can give people a master's degree in ministry. And I said, oh my, I'd like to hear about that. So when I heard about it, it was from Loyola University in New Orleans. They gave a master's degree program in different locations. You know, and they came to the place and they showed us how to do the program. I told the Jesuits about it, and they said, how can we help? So pretty soon we had a whole group of good leaders, and we had this program was in different places in Belize, and then the people that will qualify for the whole master's degree could be, you know, qualified leaders. And then others would want to study, and they got a certificate, but they took the same courses, and the courses were rich. They were all different kinds of ministries, and the whole theology of ministry, and and spirituality to go with their ministry, and all. It was so rich. They got a master's degree in theology and ministry, and
Wow.
that was really a powerful thing. But the Jesuits were so great. It was a Jesuit school in Loyola University, but the link was strong. They gave them. They didn't give the materials, but they showed us which materials to order for the curriculum.
Okay.
And everything. That was a powerful change in and that thing. So we had several different movements to help the lay ministers to really grow. They could choose whatever matched them, and so they really got the whole. They got an enthusiasm. Well, they already had enthusiasm. That's what I wanted to be sure to say. They already had enthusiasm for God and for the church. They already had that, so it was easy to build on.
Okay.
And that's why they were welcoming me and telling me more, sister, more. And so they were so beautiful. And so that was my whole 17 years here, 18 years here, was to really help them. But we didn't start that till I was already here about 5 years before we learned. But we had good foundational stuff already happening. And so that was just a thing. And those people got their degrees, and so they completed that. But then we went around to different places and had different courses in different kinds of ministry. And we got, in the diocesan level, it wasn't just me doing all the things. We got little teams, and we had a team of liturgy, had a team in marriage and family. We had a little team for
Social justice.
social justice, and we trained those teams, and those leaders were helping the people in the villages and in the things to really do, the ministry,
She did a good job on that.
Yeah,
She
she did.
And what they would do is we would come back together, and they would tell their problems, and we would work, to strengthen it all the time, and so that really helped them, and they were, committed, directed, and it was really a powerful thing to see those people and how alive their faith was and how they were willing and ready, and not only them, but they would almost teach me how to, they would say, "This is happening, sister," and they would, tell me, how can we do this, and what can we do to solve this problem, and they would work together, because the diocesan team would help the other little teams in the parishes, so it turned out really well, and it's still going. It's still
You are a great asset, sister.
Yes,
You
yes.
definitely were.
And really to talk about building and developing lay leadership, because this has continued. And what is interesting is that Sister Maggie built on what had begun by the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth, and really spread considerably throughout the diocese.
Sister Barbara, you mentioned something that took me way back. So the team did a search.
Yes.
Tell us about that search.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's, again, is a wonderful story in terms of how it began, because Sister Marilyn Fields was here, and then Sister Kitty Wilson came. But there was a group from Memphis Catholic where Sister Lynn had taught. Sister Carol Claskins was a Memphis Catholic. She brought a core group of teenagers from the school. They came to Dangriga, and they were so impressed and struck with. They stayed with families, throughout the town, and they were so impressed with what they saw the youth doing, and it was minimal, in the church. And we had a pastor, Mike Oliver, who really invested, I mean, literally, in the youth. He believed in the youth and wanted to pull them into church. Well, they went back to Memphis, did fundraising, and said, we want to bring some young Belizeans to come and do a search weekend. And a search weekend is a weekend where youth come together. You have a core group of youth leaders who give themselves their peers, this weekend, prayer, reflection, different topics relevant to the lives of youth. And so they did this fundraising. The bishop of the diocese there in Memphis assisted. They brought 4 of ours from the youth group in Dangriga, and well, the district also. And they came to Memphis, had a crash course, so to speak, came back to Dangriga, and that is how search began. And it was so, it caught on like fire. We had several weekends, and Father Oliver continued to support it, and we would bring together 20 youth, and we would give a weekend, 10 girls, 10 boys, and we train the young people, this core group, to offer the weekend. It is amazing the leadership that came from those sessions. And I will never forget, at the end of a weekend, and powerful things happen on those weekends in terms of sharing their stories, the pain of their lives, deepening in their faith and all of that. And at the end of the weekend, we place a medal, a fairly big medal, and we put it, and as that medal is placed around the neck of a youth, we would say something like, Pete, Christ is counting on you. And your response is, and I am counting on him. Mm-hmm. And when a young person says that, and says it with that genuine sense of what it means to have had this experience, it does wonders for them. Search spread to PG. Sister Josefina, I believe, brought a group went there and brought a group. It spread to other districts. It came to St. John's College, the high school, and it came to St. Catherine's Academy, but it spread. And those young people deepened in their faith and became leaders in the communities, Yeah. So it
was a very powerful group, and I've shared the limited information I have about search to other young people before, and I've said I haven't seen a group or an organization like Search since then. Well, what happened to it though?
Well, you have to support it, and yes, those young people were on fire. They became leaders in their parishes and in their communities, but it fizzled out because the weekends did not continue. I mean, the church has to have a place for its youth. Programs that are done for youth must have relevance for youth. They need to be able to see themselves in the church. The church cares about me, and what is it offering that's relevant to my life. So yes, I don't know what the equivalent is that they have really now, but certainly for that time, Search really made a difference.
Right. There's another organization or another program, I believe, Life. Let's hear about life of you,
Yes.
sister.
Life started about, my gosh, 10 years ago. I had finished my studies at the University of Belize. And when I was at University of Belize, they asked us to do a research on marginalized population. And so I chose to look at the elderly population. And it was from that research at school that I found out that there was not much for the elderly population. So when I graduated from University of Belize with my bachelor's in social work, I wanted to do something. What that something was, I didn't quite know. So the provincial at that time, she helped me to apply for a grant because I wanted to do research. And it was through that planning grant that I drafted up a survey. And I walked different parts of Southside Belize City. Places I didn't even know, I just walked the streets. And I didn't know what gang was in what area or whatever it is. My mom was so terrified for me going into these neighborhoods. But I was just walking, going house to house, asking if there's anybody 65 or over that wouldn't mind answering a survey. And so I did, I don't even know how many hundreds of those surveys, just to find out really what the needs were. And it was from compiling the survey, I found out that the senior population needed transportation to and from their medical appointments or different appointments. They wanted to socialize. They wanted a support group. They needed assistance with food. Some of them needed to be like linked to a clinic of some sort. And then we also have community health workers that we did later. We trained them. But then also the minor home renovations. So life is focused around those 5 things. And 10 years ago, we ventured into this, not knowing where we were going or if it would even survive. And so we ended up taking a couple seniors and talking with them to see if they would be a part of the core group. And it's by word of mouth that we now have 100 seniors. Actually, we cut off at 100 seniors. There could be way more. But we have 100 seniors that we work with that are within all of those programs that I listed or some parts of that. But we assist in those areas. And we have a very small staff. But life is known there in Southside to offer services to enhance the lives of seniors. And life, you mean say what that means. So it means living independently in full existence. So basically we help seniors living independently in their homes, and we try to make that to the fullest of their existence.
She's so humble. She doesn't want to say that I founded this organization.
Yes, we're speaking to the founder
Wow.
of Life.
Wow,
And
impressive.
the difference that has made.
Yeah.
made a lot of
yes,
A huge difference, yes.
Yeah.
We always have people on the waiting list, but because we're a small staff, we only tailor to 100 seniors at a time. So unless they pass or they move away, then that slot is filled.
Yeah.
But imagine the dignity to seniors.
seniors,
Yes, yes. As someone, there are people who care and who are helping us respond.
And we had mentioned earlier that God works in mysterious ways.
Yes.
You, being a young person, to choose to help the elderly,
Yes, right.
it's a
Right.
big
Right,
contrast,
right.
it's something you wouldn't see with other young people
Right.
choosing that avenue,
Yeah.
and you chose us.
And it feels weird when they call me mommy.
True.
And I'm looking at them and like, you're calling me mommy? You could be my grandmother.
Yes, yes,
But it's so
yes.
funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're very thankful. And a lot of them, they're very, very humble, really,
Yes.
but very, very thankful for the service.
And
I
we've
think
gone to
it
some of their
too
meetings, and they're just precious.
Yes.
It's wonderful to see.
And
them.
it connects us back to, the spirit of our foundress and our congregation. Catherine Spalding was one who saw needs. She perceived what these needs were, what needed to be done, and took the risks to respond to them. And I believe that life here in Belize is a typical example of seeing a need and responding to the need, not knowing where, how it would go. And the congregation has been extremely supportive in helping,
Very much so.
Carlette, really be able to move with that program of life, but the difference that it has made.
So if young women are listening to this right now, I'm saying not if, but young women listening to this show tonight, if they're interested to become a Sister of Charity of Nazareth, how does one do this? How does a young lady get involved?
Well, I think the first thing would be to make a contact with Carlette. She is here in Belize, and I know you mentioned earlier that you have gone to schools. You've been invited to schools, so I will let you speak.
Yeah. In reality, a lot of the young women that are out there, they go on the internet. And we do have a website, and they connect to that person, and that person gets to me. So really, if it's a young woman in Belize City, they could go on the website looking for that. Just type in Sisters of Charity of Nazareth, and then, there are several categories there. And from there, they would put just like a little chat if they want to, and then that person will connect them to me. That's the easiest way, because you would get a contact information for myself. But really, in Belize City here, if they do know me or if they see me around, I'm always at St. Martin's, or I work on Southside Belize. Yeah, it's an easy way to get. And I do have Facebook. Yeah.
Okay. Well, sisters, I'll ask you, what are your hopes for the SCN, for the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth, for the next 50 years?
To be alive still, I guess. I'm kidding.
Well, my hope is that the energy and the mission goes on beyond us. That it goes on beyond us. We can be cheerleaders for it, or whatever, when we're here and around here, or wherever we are, but the people are getting their mission, so it's a big we, and that's what's so beautiful, is that's what the church is.
Yes.
We are the church, and so all of us together, whatever vocation we're in.
One big hope, really, we have Pope Leo XIV. And he is speaking about, in keeping with what Pope Francis said, he is speaking about a missionary church, a church of the people. And we may not be the ones as Sisters of Charity, to be actually into the next 50 years. I'm responding to your questions. But if we can continue, as we are, to build a church that relates to its people, a mission that listens to its people, that dialogues with its people, that responds to the needs of this time. We are living in such a fractured world, just a divided, polarized world. So how can we partner with others? We're not going to get maybe we will get a slew of young women, and we will take it if it happens. But if we can continue to partner with, collaborate with, Sister Maggie, talked about the kinds of things that, that she's done in the past. How do we continue to develop the leadership, work with leaders and strengthen, so that the charism of the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth, that spirit, that gift that we share with the world, will catch on, and then it's going to be from the I to the we, to respond to the needs of the world. Certainly our hope. And one thing we didn't mention, which is a value for the Sister of Charity of Nazareth, is caring for earth.
Yes.
I think it's important to say this is 10 years since Laudato Si.
Yeah.
And what a bold vision of Pope Francis given to us in Laudato Si. And for us, we have an Office of Ecological Sustainability. And what it's about is how do we personally and communally and beyond somehow deepen in understanding what that means and how we intensify our efforts to care for creation. And Belize, my goodness, beautiful country, jewel we call it. You know, how can we continue to help to raise that awareness, because it's so needed at this time. So again, you know, this Laudato Si, 10 years of celebrating, caring for our common home and all of that, it coincides with all of this that's happening, and it's not disconnected, you know, at all. So as we talk about hope, those are the kinds of things that we hope will continue to happen as we keep collaborating with others in partnership, and we move forward in responding to these needs.
Well, it's been a very interesting conversation. I'm sure that our listeners, our viewers, are very encouraged to hear what the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth have done, and still the hopes that you all have for the future. We want to, before we end our show, we want to thank you. We want to congratulate you all for the work that you've done for your Jubilee. And you're so blessed because, as we mentioned earlier, your Jubilee comes at a time when the church is celebrating its actual Jubilee also. So before we leave, we want to ask you if you have any final words you want to share with us. Any final words, Sister Maggie?
I think the only thing I would say to the people is we love you, and we or still love you no matter what. And we really appreciate being with you because you are full of God's joy and commitment and so much good things that you have shared already with your people around you, you know, and it is really going to feed the fire for your future, you know, and so you will find a way if you really are still with God and your enthusiasm for the church. God will show you, and so that would be my thing.
And for me, being a younger member, I just want to say for women who are thinking, just want to say, give it a chance. You never know where it's going to lead. It doesn't just happen overnight. There's a discerning process. So if you feel like it's not for you, then you can find out. But also a thank you to all those who have worked with us, have ministered with us, have walked alongside with us. We want to say thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes. I echo all of that, and I certainly, as one who started as a young laywoman, became a Sister of Charity of Nazareth, and can now celebrate 50 years, I want to thank our initial sisters who somehow heard that calling and came, and how they were, who they were to the people of Belize. And also, I thank the congregation, the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth, for the tremendous support that we have received. And our vocations are, I want to say they flourish because of how we have been accompanied along the way. And I thank our people of Belize. I thank our people of this diocese, because your conviction And your working alongside us, ministering alongside us, is what has really transformed us. We have grown.
That's true.
Exactly.
You've called us to become better at who we are, who we strive to be, and we have grown because of that. So please, let's not in any way estimate what we are capable of doing and being as Belizeans, in our faith, living out of the best of our cultural traditions. Let us continue to do that because God reverences that. And let us continue to deepen then that faith, and in our cultures where community is so important, our communal nature and taking care of each other, let us strengthen in that journey, because as we say, in this year of hope, God walks along with us. God accompanies us. And Romans 5:5 says, hope does not disappoint. And let us move forward in that spirit.
Sister, before we close, you just remember to mention those who were there before. So let us just pause and observe a moment of silence for all the members of the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth who served in Belize and are now passed. Eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord.
And let perpetual light shine upon them.
May their souls and the souls of all the faithful departed, through the mercy of God, rest in peace.
Amen.
Sister Carlos, Sister Maggie, Sister Barbara, thank you very much for being here with us. Thank you for such insightful discussions.
And we like to thank the people out there that are hearing this because they're part of it.
Yes.
You know, and the prayer that you said for us, we say for them.
Yeah.
You know, and so
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much
Thanks
for having us.
We wish you all the best and all
Thank
the
you.
future ventures of Sisters of Charity of Nazareth.
Thank
And
you.
have
Thank
a happy
you.
Jubilee.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Yes, we look forward.